Hi guys, it's Anissa. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a full face using products that I forgot about, products that I love and haven't used in a while, just pretty much full face of nothing new. I have been testing out so much new makeup that I figured that I could take a little bit of a break and just bring it back a little bit and reuse some products that have already been tested on this channel. If you guys would like to see how we came up with this gorgeous look, then make sure to keep on watching. But before you go any further, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. I post on this channel every 4 days, so you never have to miss me for too long. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get into it. All right, we are gonna go ahead and start with the brows. I really could not help myself. I feel like I have not used this on camera in so long, and shame on me. Benefit Precisely my brow pencil, and I am in the shade 5. Sorry y'all, you know I cannot talk and do my eyebrows at the same time. Trust me, just because I'm not talking doesn't mean I don't have anything to say, because I got plenty to say, but we're gonna get there in a second. Now that I got my shape, I'm gonna go ahead and actually fill them in. Today, I'm just gonna be using the Anastasia Dip Brow Pomade. This is in the color Ebony. I'm gonna spray it a little bit because it looks a little dry. I used to love the pencil of this. And then I tried the Benefit and I was like, oh my gosh, this is way better than the Anastasia. It's been a while since I've used this brow pomade, so I wanna see what my feelings are. I use the pencil to outline, and then I use the pomade to fill in any of my sparse areas. Now, as you can see, I do leave some of my sparse areas because I feel like it makes them look a little bit more lifelike. I actually want to start using brow gel, figure out which one I want to try first. If I'm doing my foundation and I accidentally hit my brow hair, then I have to re-spool it. Just to carve them out, this is an oldie. I haven't used this in a hot minute. Benefit BOI-ING Industrial Concealer in the color number 5, just to show you guys what it looks like. This is actually the most skin-like pot concealer I have. I actually prefer that my pot concealer be a little bit lighter, only because it kind of helps give the brow a little bit of a highlight underneath, but I don't mind either way. This stuff is really full coverage. Sorry guys, the first part of this is probably pretty boring. Recently I've been putting in the brows because I like to watch other people do their brows, but at the same time I cannot talk and do my eyebrows at the same time. For eyeshadow primer today, MAC Paint Pot in the color Soft Ochre. Love this stuff for priming the eyes. I think it's so super beautiful. It seems really light, especially for me, but I actually prefer that my eyeshadow primer be a little bit lighter, because it kind of helps these shadows pop just a little bit more because I am darker. So sometimes it's a little bit harder for shadows to show up the way that they look in the pan on my eyes, just because they're going on a brown background. It's just the fact of the matter. Don't need a whole lot at all. And I also like to use a eyeshadow primer that is a little bit lighter because it kind of helps correct some of the discoloration that I have on my eyes. I have a lot of texture on my eyes, and I also have a lot of blue veins, so it kind of just helps to disguise them a little bit. Now the wrinkles you can't do anything about. You guys can see I just have very naturally wrinkly eyelids. And then I also like to kind of bring it up into where my concealer is. That way the whole space right here is just a clean canvas. I have 2 eyeshadow palettes that I wanted to use, and at first I was gonna pick, but I'm not gonna make myself do that. I'm kind of just gonna dip into both. First one is this NATASHA DENONA Metropolis palette. This is just what the inside looks like. Very pretty. I honestly really liked this palette, but I was a little bit disappointed just because it doesn't have as many dark brown colors as I would want it to. I thought these colors were like black when I bought it, but in person they're actually blue. I also wanted to go ahead and use this NIKKIETUTORIALS X Beauty Bay eyeshadow palette, and I want to go ahead and use the neutrals in here because I have used pretty much all of the colorful shades. I'm just gonna take a fluffy blending brush, color right here, Mila, and I'm gonna use that as my transition color in my crease. One thing I do like about the way that I displayed my eyeshadows behind me is that I use little racks. That way they're displayed and you can see all of them. But sometimes some of them get tucked away, or I don't use them, especially my colorful eyeshadow palettes, because I used to pull 1 or 2 colorful eyeshadow palettes for the month for my Shop My Stash, but realistically I don't wear color on a day-to-day basis, so I stopped pulling the more colorful eyeshadow palettes. Those palettes that are half neutral, half colorful don't always get used a whole bunch because I would rather just have an all neutral palette. But I do like this eyeshadow palette. I think it's very, very cute, very pretty. These shimmery, like glittery colors in here, nothing I have ever used before. I can't even explain it to you. They have like a really pretty foiled effect to them. And then just taking a more fluffy big brush to blend out that color. I told myself I deserve a little bit of break from color because A, it's fall, and B, I feel like I did nothing but color during the summertime. And I don't know, I tried to throw in a lot of colorful looks for you guys because I feel like the neutral looks can get very, very repetitive, but they're what I love. So I gotta throw them in every once in a while. To deepen up that color a little bit, I'm just gonna go over top of it with this beautiful rich chocolate color 5AM. Now these shadows do have a little bit of kickback. Taking the same big fluffy brush that I did before to just make sure everything is nice and blended out. That way we don't have any harsh lines. I honestly am probably only going to use 1 or 2 colors out of this Metropolis palette. I do want to go ahead and take this color in the very corner right here to deepen up my outer crease. Probably should have used 5AM. We're gonna be multifaceted today. That's not as dark as I wanted it to be, although it is pigmented and it's showing up. I use this BAREMINERALS. This is a powder foundation in the color Cocoa 30, and I'm gonna use this on my outer crease to deepen it up. I do use it as a bronzer, but honestly, I really don't wear a whole lot of powder bronzer. Perfect way to incorporate this because this is also something that really doesn't get used a whole bunch. I just feel like I'm a little bit more comfortable with cream bronzer. It's so crazy to me though. 2 years ago, I did not wear blush. When I started wearing blush, it changed my life. And I kind of have to like raise my eyebrows like this because there's so many lines and stuff. I'm gonna take this color right here, this like super really pretty gold that I'm like kind of circling around. And I'm gonna put that all over my lid, and then we're gonna top it off with one of the shimmers in the NIKKIETUTORIALS palette. What drew me so much to this palette is the fact that it has so many choices for gold shimmers. Gold shimmer is like my favorite thing for nude eyeshadow looks. I just feel like it looks so pretty with my skin tone. When you're looking at them from a head-on version, the colors look like this, but once you move them, they look different in different lighting. They're like very, very reflective. I'm gonna go in with a mix of All In and Mr. Tutorials right here. Oh, that is really pretty over top of that. But these are actually very, very buttery and smooth. They are not rough feeling at all. Just to blend everything together, just gonna go in my crease. Definitely have to do winged liner. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I felt like those colors had a good amount of fallout, but I really feel like if you do your eyes first, it's not something that you have to worry about. I don't have a whole bunch of eyeliners, so I knew pretty much every one that I had. Today I'm gonna be using the Maybelline Hyper Easy eyeliner, and this is in the color Pitch Black. I've only used this one once, and that's the reason that I wanna use it again, because all my other eyeliners I have used over and over and over. Went ahead and applied these lovely e.l.f. eye tapes. These have just been a lifesaver for me. I've always had a very, very shaky hand, especially with super fine motor skills. I think it's inherited though, because my mom does the same thing, like especially when she writes, she shakes. So I don't think that a day will ever come that I won't use these. I know a lot of people just use them to get started. It's just so easy to use, and I can say that because I consider myself a beginner. I'll probably always consider myself a beginner. I have definitely tried eyeliners that when you drag it, the pigment doesn't come out until you're like halfway through your drag, and then your wing is messed up. When I first used this, I was scared to use it because it looks like a felt tip, but it actually is a brush tip. So I don't know if that's why it's so easy to use, maybe. I think it's easier to do the actual wing and then fill in the outline of it. I know some people like to do the line first and then their wing, but I prefer to do my wing first. If you ever mess up your eyeliner, wait until it dries and then try to fix it. It's gonna be way harder to try to fix if it's still wet. I swear to you guys, this part is like one of the most satisfying things in life. Make sure also that you give your eyeliner time to dry, because if not, when you pull it off, it's just going to bleed and then you're not gonna have that crisp line anymore. This is the most even my wings have been ever. Like, they usually are cousins. Today, they're sisters. Even though this is only my second time using this eyeliner, it's slowly working its way up to being one of my favorites because it's just so easy to work with. You don't have to go over the same part more than once. I feel like pigment is really important if you're somebody that doesn't use those e.l.f. eye tapes and you just free draw your liner. You don't want to have to be going over the same area over and over and over again. And it's even harder for me to do my wings because I have these lash extensions. Now it is time for complexion. You guys know I get so geeked for complexion because I feel like that is when the true transformation happens. It makes my heart so happy to be able to use these products. Today we're actually going to be using a primer water, and this is the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Set and Refresh Spray. So it comes with 2 layers. You guys can see there's a green layer and a blue layer. Just make sure you shake that up really good. I'm gonna let that set for a few seconds. I'm sure this is no surprise to you guys. If you've watched any of my favorites videos or Best of Beauty, this is the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer. My favorite of all time, and I am so happy to be filming this video because I have not been able to use products like this that I love in so long because I've been testing so much new makeup. You think about it, I really don't even get to use products like this because I don't pick them for my Shop My Stashes right now. Because really what I like to use my Shop My Stashes for is makeup that is new. And really it's like kind of like it's test run. It's 1 month test run. If I like it, I keep it. And if I don't like it, I get rid of it. So I'm trying to go through all of my makeup and do that process. And then once I get through that process, I'm gonna allow myself to use the products that I love. Because this is what happens. If I pull products like this that I know I love, I don't use anything else that I pull. So it's kind of just forcing me to use the products that are newer, which is good because then I'm not just using the same thing over and over and over again. 2 foundations that I just really cannot bring myself to pick between, so this is gonna be interesting. The first one is the Fenty Beauty Hydrating Foundation in the color 420, and then the second one is the NARS Soft Matte Complete Foundation, and I am in the color MACAO Deep 4 in this. Ride or die. When I was reviewing this, best 3 days of my life because my makeup looked bomb. Every single day, all day. This stuff is like long lasting, super comfortable, very easy to wear. She wins. I want to get to the point where I can look at every single product in my collection and be like, okay, this is how I feel about this. This is how I feel about this. This is how I feel about this. I realize I have an excessive amount of makeup, but I have an excessive amount of makeup because I make these videos and I don't want to be using the same makeup all the time. I don't know why I'm doing one side of my face at a time. I'm so used to doing half brush, half sponge that I'm doing half my face. I definitely want to do these full face of nothing new every once in a while because they just make my heart happy and they allow me to use products that I know that I like. Now, don't get me wrong. I absolutely love doing the testing new makeup videos because I obviously clearly have an issue with buying new makeup. It's just so refreshing to sometimes be able to sit down and be like, this is my product, I love this product, and to know that the makeup is gonna turn out good. Do you see what I'm talking about? Before, after. It's just so good. You can especially see with my forehead, like the half and half. The only time I really get to use the makeup that I love is when I go on vacation, which has not been very often. I don't take new products on vacation because that is not the time to experiment. It's kind of like if you have somewhere important to go, like you're not gonna test all new makeup. You're gonna use the stuff that you use. Same thing with your hair. Like you're not gonna try a new hairstyle when you have somewhere important to be. You're not gonna do it. And if you are, you're brave. This is the big sponge in the e.l.f. Complexion Trio sponge. This is truly chef's kiss. I have 3 concealers, but I'm pretty sure that I know which 2 I'm gonna use. The first one is this Pat McGrath Labs Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Concealer in the color MD23. Next, I have the Huda Beauty, the Overachiever Concealer in the color Peanut Butter 24G. Lastly, I have this Morphe Fluidity Full Coverage Concealer, color C3.55. So underrated. I do not hear enough people talk about it. So many amazing shades, really good coverage. Jaclyn Hill hooked me onto this. I'm not gonna use that. I wanna go ahead and use these 2 because I have not used them and I actually kind of forgot about them. Makeup's either in this video because I actually forgot about it or because it's just so good and I haven't been able to use it on camera and this is my excuse to use it. I've only used this Pat McGrath concealer 1 time and that's when I tested it out for the first time. I don't like the applicator of this Huda Beauty Overachiever. Just to give a little bit more brightness, I'm just gonna add that over top. I was gonna use this e.l.f. Camo Concealer Sponge, but I saw an Instagram reel the other day and a girl actually used a brush to blend out her concealer and she got way more coverage with the brush. Now, if you guys have watched my videos before, you know that I go in with a sponge and then I will go in with a brush to just make sure nothing's hanging on weird. But I think I just want to use just a brush today. This is the Rare Beauty foundation brush, and the only reason I bought this is because I wanted to use it when I tested out the foundation, but I just felt like it was a little bit too sparse for all over the face, and it's a little bit too small for me. I'm all about convenience and efficiency, so that's why I really like using big foundation brushes or sponges, because it takes 2 seconds to blend out your foundation. When I used this, I was like, oh my gosh, this would be so perfect for underneath the eye. I think what has amazed me so much about makeup in general is the fact that sometimes people can get so stuck in their ways that you're like, nope, I'm not ever gonna find anything better than this. I'm never gonna find anything better than this. And then when you do, it's like you're almost taken aback. Okay, that has a really good coverage. I'm just gonna use a sponge to blend out the edges of it. I know I kind of touched on this briefly in my last video, but I used to be somebody, I loved matte foundation, matte concealer, matte setting spray, matte everything. Don't get me wrong, I don't not like matte foundation because hello, I used one today. But I found, especially with concealers, I just feel like natural finish ones look a little bit better underneath the eyes, because when you go to set a matte concealer, it almost has kind of already set itself, versus the natural finish concealers just soak up the powder. Versus when you use a natural finish concealer, it almost just soaks up the powder and helps smooth everything. Now time to set underneath the eyes. Definitely forgot that I had this, but this is a goodie. This is the Juno & Co. Loose Setting Powder in the color Brighten. I think the last time I used this on camera, which would have been the last time I used it, was in my first dupe. I am gonna use a sponge. I feel like a sponge kind of helps the product soak into the skin a little bit better. Very, very smoothing, and also brings a little bit of life to underneath the eyes. Before, after. My favorite thing is when a powder just like melts into the skin. I have it underneath the eye, right? Once I blend it in, boom, it just melts into the skin. For me personally, that's what make or breaks a powder, is its ability to really soak into the skin and just become one with your makeup. Feeling good, feeling gorgeous. All right guys, now I'm gonna go ahead and quickly carve out the top of my brows. See, this is what I mean when I have to keep re-spooling through them because they move sometimes. I always carve out the top of my brows with whatever foundation I'm using. Okay, I don't understand why this person keeps getting in and out of their car. Like, I've literally heard you 5 or 6 times now. So it's either you need to go somewhere or you need to stay home. One thing I don't like about living in this apartment is I'm right next to the parking lot. Even sometimes at night, like in the middle of the night, 3, 4 a.m., I can hear people locking their cars, unlocking their cars, slamming their doors. I'm usually a pretty deep sleeper, but sometimes it wakes me up occasionally, or when somebody's car alarm goes off and they just decide to keep letting it go off. I'm like, can we be a little bit courteous of everybody else or no? And it honestly probably would not bother me as much if I wasn't on the first floor, but dang. Cream bronzer, I'm going to be using this Milk Makeup Matte Bronzer Stick, and this is in the color Blaze. I actually got this from TJ Maxx, and I think for a little bit they only had one shade in this, which was the lighter one, and then they finally came out with a darker shade because I've heard a lot of people talk about this and say how good it was. So I was like, us dark girls want some of the action too. Favorite brush for cream bronzer. This is the Real Techniques number 28 brush. I can almost like stamp the product in because it's has the perfect shape for contouring. The brushes and the tools that you're using are just as important as the makeup that you're using. Maybe you're like a beginner in makeup, just need a little direction on what brands are good for brushes, high-end or drugstore. I recently just made a video that has all of my favorite brushes in it. I'll link it right up here for you guys to check out. The biggest thing when I think of makeup now versus 5 years ago is that there's so much that a consumer has to filter through because there's new releases happening all the time, like pretty much every single day. So that's why I really love the fact that I get to come on here and like test all this makeup for you guys and be like, okay, hey, this is worth your coin, this not so much. Especially if you're somebody who's newer into makeup and you don't really even know what you're looking for. At least that's what YouTube was for me. When I first started getting into makeup, I was like, okay, what's the tea? I also love this channel, and I think what's special about my channel is that I try to also test products that a lot of people don't talk about. So yes, of course, I love the fan favorites like the Laura Mercier Loose Setting Powder and the NARS, like stuff like that. I love because it's good and it's popular for a good reason. But there's also stuff that is popular that I feel like is overhyped, and there's stuff that's not popular that should have more hype. I wasn't gonna do cream blush because I really haven't per se forgot about any of my cream blushes. I'm gonna go ahead and take this video to share with you guys a recent favorite of mine. These are the Milani cream blushes. I actually recently just tested these out in my full face of testing Milani makeup. This one right here is 140 Merlot Moment, and this one over here is 110 Nude Kiss. I love, love, love to combine these two. They have been my favorite cream blushes at the moment. They're so super skin-like, really, really easy to work with. I wasn't the biggest fan of them the first time I tried them because I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, but they have grown on me. I'm really happy I came up with this video idea because I was having a really hard time. I knew that I somehow wanted to incorporate, you know, products that I've been loving lately, but I've just had so much new makeup to try that it's been really hard to even do that. So this video is just perfect. Very buildable, very pigmented. I know it's very overwhelming. That's what we have a sponge for. Just helps to really make it more wearable. And the thing about these is that you can build them up or you can take away. They're very, very easy and beginner friendly to work with. And they don't pull your makeup off from underneath. One of the first cream blushes I used were the e.l.f. cream blushes, putty blushes, and I feel like those actually kind of pull your makeup off from underneath. So I've been kind of gearing away from those and more towards those Milani cream blushes. For powder foundation, an oldie but a goodie. This is the MAC Studio Fix Plus powder foundation in the color C8. I'm a very big advocate on powder foundation. It is probably one of my favorite steps in makeup because I just feel like it elevates everything. It smooths everything. Smooth, filtered, flawless, beautiful. Still smooth, flawless, filtered, and beautiful. But you see, the one thing, I love creams. I do. But when you hit the light in certain angles, you guys can see all the texture that I have. It's because since your cream is shiny, when it hits the light, that texture is going to accentuate it. Versus now, look with this powder. Gone. Take a smaller brush and get really close to my eyebrows. Now time for a blush. We're going to be using a blush palette. This is the Revolution X Roxy blush palette, and this is just what it looks like. So stinking beautiful and pretty. I used to think it was stupid to use powder blush and cream blush. Not stupid. So not stupid. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and mix these three colors right here. This is how I like to do my blush. I stamp it and then I will diffuse it with a sponge. I feel like it's a little bit easier for me personally to do it that way. What's so great is if you do use a sponge for your foundation, a little bit of that foundation is still left in the sponge, so you can just go over pretty much anything that you think is a little bit too intense. Honestly, probably a little bit more than what I would usually go for. We're just gonna go with it. I feel like as a darker person, it's a lot harder to find more affordable face palettes that have a lot of different options. This palette in particular, I really, really love because it's very suitable for dark skin tones and light skin tones. This and the e.l.f. blush palette are really the only two things that I have found that are CoverGirl friendly. This is kind of turning into like a recommendations video. Now I'm gonna go ahead with highlighter. I do have two highlighters also because I just can't decide. First one is the NATASHA I Need a Nude Glow highlighter. So freaking pretty. Very beautiful as well. The NYX Born to Glow Illuminating Powder, and this is in the color Warm Strobe. I think I'm gonna use the NYX. In case you haven't seen me use this on my channel, I'm about to show you like the magic this brings. You will never have to buy another one of these because I kid you not, you dip into the product once and you have enough for your whole face. Look at this nose highlight. Hold on, just wait. Pretty nice sheen to the face, and then drag a little bit down the bridge. My confidence goes from like a 2 to a 50 with nose highlight. I'm gonna go ahead and set my face before I finish underneath the eyes and the lips. And I am going to be using this e.l.f. Stay All Night Micro Fine Setting Mist. This is supposed to be a dupe for the Urban Decay All Nighter. I prefer the scent on this one more than the Urban Decay. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but it smells like straight alcohol. Versus this one, you can't smell any alcohol. Actually smells more like skincare. I'm not loving this cheek over here, but this cheek is giving me life. I know exactly what color I want to use underneath the eyes. Instead of going in with eyeshadow, I'm going to go ahead and actually use a eye pencil. This is the only eye pencil that I have pretty much forgotten about, only used once. This is the Morphe eyeliner pencil in the color Dimmer. I do the same thing underneath the eyes that I do above the eyes, and I stop pretty much at the colored part of my eye. Smudging that out a little bit. Then for mascara, use this e.l.f. Lash It Out Loud Volumizing Mascara. I've only used this once or twice. I honestly forgot that it existed until I tested this Big Mood mascara in my last video. I was like, I feel like I just tried a mascara from them. And I was like, oh, I did. It was this one. I messed up a little bit on the mascara, so while I wait for that to dry, I'm gonna go ahead and put on my inner corner highlight, just using the NYX Born to Glow highlighter in the inner corners. Good morning. Hello. I thought I didn't have a mascara picked out, but I did. It was the L'Oreal Telescopic Carbon Black. Very, very good. Actually, one of the only items that I use now that I used 5 years ago. Oops, but still gets an honorable mention. Time for our lip combo. Sephora Rouge Lip Liner in the color 32 Hot Sauce. One of my favorite nude lip liners of all time. And it's retractable, which is my favorite. Lipstick, gonna be using the Juvia's Place lipstick in the color Me in the center. More brown into the lip combo. I'm gonna go ahead and top it off with this Juvia's Place lip gloss, and this is in the color Caramel Rose. Alright guys, this is the finished look. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this video. I know that I had a lot of fun filming this video for you guys. It was an opportunity for me to use some products that I absolutely love that I haven't been able to use in a while, or products that I actually really forgot about having. If you guys would like to see another of this video, or even me start a series of this, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. That way I know you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I post on the channel every 4 days, so you never have to miss me for too long. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in a few days. Bye.